everyone, Charmaine here and welcome to another video. Today I will be showing you the process of drying flowers using silica sand. This video is brought to you by Truman Desiccant, so they were the ones who provided me with the flower drying kits. I will link all the products that I used in this video in the description below. In this video, I will show you how I was able to dry this bouquet. Well, most of it, because actually it was really huge and my silica sand was limited. So I had to make good decisions in drying these flowers. But the actual selling point of this flower drying method is the fact that it only takes about 2 to 7 days to fully dry your flower, and also you get to keep the colors. As you can see, this bouquet right here on screen is actually already dry. It's already on its day 5 of drying when I unearthed this bouquet, and as you can see, the colors are still vibrant. So let's get started. So Truman Desiccant sent over 2 kits, 2 of their flower drying kits, and each kit contains the following: a bag of orange silica sand. It also comes with full instructions. The instructions cover everything from drying to reusing the silica sand. Yes, you can reuse the silica sand after. I will talk more about that later. It includes your freebies, and you have this mesh for pulling out the flowers later on, and you have a stick and a brush. But let's set the kit aside first and prepare the flowers. So of course you will want to disassemble your bouquet. So I took out the ribbon and I took out each of the cover one piece at a time. So I have done a couple of videos using silica sand here on my channel, and I have done the heads. I have not done a full bouquet, so this is the first time I'm doing this, which is a challenge for myself as well. My previous videos, I only dried the heads so they would fit in a jar, but this time around, since I wanted to, preserve a bouquet, that means I should include the stem. So that is the challenge here. And I also had to consider the fact that I only had like 2 bags of silica sand to work with. So I had to be smart about it. So I actually took the bouquet apart and sort of like categorized them as to what type of flower they are. So for the fillers, like just the green leaves, I didn't bother with drying those. Rather, I just selected like the big roses and a couple of each of the variety, just so I have a good mix in my final bouquet. If you're drying something smaller or just the heads, you can definitely use the container that comes with the kit. But as you know, we have these huge flowers, so I had to look for a bigger airtight container to store my flowers and my silica sand. Thankfully, I had this big plastic bin. So you see, I'm putting the mesh right here, but I knew it wasn't gonna work because my bin was larger, but I put it on there anyway, just for fun. So I just poured in a layer of the silica sand at the bottom. It will serve as like the main bed for the flowers, and I'm just using the popsicle stick that came along with the kit to sort of like flatten the layer. And then I just tried to arrange the flowers in this way. This was the best way I could think of. I was just like making a crisscross or an X of the flowers. So the stems were actually very long, so I had to just clip them so that they would fit the container. And I just kept doing this over and over, trying to arrange them in a position wherein I feel like they will be best covered or will have most coverage from the silica sand. So here I am pouring a layer of sand onto the first layer of flowers that I put in. Actually, it was a bit difficult because the flowers were super bulky. In hindsight, I think you should put the bigger flowers at the bottom first so that it will get covered better. This wouldn't have been an issue if I had more than enough sand for the large bouquet that I had, but I had to move things around because my bulkier flowers, they were not getting the ideal coverage. So I took out a couple and then I just rearranged the whole thing and made sure that the big bulk of the bouquet was actually drenched or covered in the sand. So the final coverage isn't ideal. I still had a couple of the petals poking out, but I made sure that the priority flowers were actually covered in silica sand. Well, a good lot of them were covered in silica sand. Once you're happy with the arrangement and coverage, it is now time to label the box. This is a good practice to keep, especially if you're doing multiple things at the same time. And here I am storing it under my table away from sunlight. I actually checked on the flowers like 3 days in, but the flowers were still a bit soft, so I let it sit there until about like 5 days total. So at this stage, when you want to take the flowers out, they are very fragile, they can fall apart. So just be very careful when handling the flowers. It was at this time where I understood why I needed the brush in the kit, because the sand tends to get into those little small parts of your flowers. So of course you'd want to brush those tiny specks away. As expected, my roses got kind of deformed because, of course, the sand actually had weight and it was pressing down against the flowers, and flowers are really fragile. And it was sitting on its side, unlike when I was drying just the head. So the flowers usually face up or face down. So like the bulb of the rose actually got pressed. So that's one thing to consider when trying to dry an entire bouquet, including the stem. Forgive me if I don't know the name, but the lilium didn't dry so well. I think it got too crushed, but everything else dried superbly. If you can observe, the sand changed its color from orange to a dark green color. So that is the indicator. If your silica is still orange, you can still use it for another set or another batch. But if it turns blue, that means it is already saturated with moisture. Don't worry, you don't throw this away. It can keep up to 2 years in terms of shelf life. And if you want to reuse it, you can run it in the microwave or in your oven. And orange silica is non-toxic, so you can use it with your food grade utensils. If you want to see a demonstration of this one, I will direct you to my previous flower drying video where I did exactly this. So just to be on the safe side, always use the orange silica and make sure your manufacturer or supplier is legit. Now it's time to put your flowers together into another bouquet in a vase this time. But as you can see, I'm just reusing an empty coffee bottle right here, but it'll work just fine. When doing this, keep in mind that these flowers are more fragile than the fresh ones. They're actually more stiff, so you need to have extra care when doing so. They won't look 100% exactly like the original bouquet, but if you are able to choose one or two of each variety from the original bouquet, you will get the same vibe more or less in your dried flower version. And as I've mentioned earlier, the flowers, especially the roses, got flattened, so I had to sort of unpuff them just so they retain their bulbous state. But when I was unpuffing the roses, this was at the expense of a couple of the petals on the outside falling. So you have to consider again to be very gentle with these flowers. Also, every now and then I found like pockets of sand in the tiny crevices and folds of the flowers, so I just had to brush them out. But overall, I am super happy with how this final dried flower bouquet turned out. So, in my opinion, drying an entire bouquet of flowers can be done, but it requires more work, and I wish I had more sand, maybe for my next project. But I think next time around, I will be limiting myself to just drying the heads like I usually do, because I think the flowers dry easily in that manner and they don't get too deformed or flattened. They get to keep their original shape. But I think amongst all the flower drying methods that I have done here on my channel, I can 100% recommend Silica Sand. It's fast drying, keeps colors the best, and you can reuse the sand over and over and over again for up to 20 times, and it can keep in your shelf without going bad for as much as 2 years, as recommended by the manufacturer. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to check out Truman Desiccants. They have a bunch of products, including resin products, that you can check out for your crafting needs. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Take care and keep safe. Bye!